Good news, bad news. Good news, there's something to talk about. Bad news, my guest today was unable to attend the meeting for a couple of different reasons, all very valid, but he did ask me to summarize a few points for y'all. Matt Tyner is a friend of mine, and we've worked together over the last couple of years on a variety of projects. He is currently the marketing manager for a company called Williams Comfort Air in the Midwest, where they've had a fantastic season, even under extreme duress. And in discussing kind of what they did during this time period to help them, quote unquote, thrive, they really identified three distinct decisions that they made. The first distinct decision that strengthened their brand was to understand the correlation between risk and value. That if a client working with you perceives you as a risky choice or as perhaps more risky than someone else, that your value proposition is automatically compromised, which is to ask a simple question, namely, what are our clients' biggest fears? What are their concerns? What are the skeletons in their closet? What would the worst case scenario look like for them in dealing with the heating and air conditioning company? And then just sort of reverse engineering policies and procedures that reduce risk and ensure consistency. Like any company, they found themselves, and we all do this, like having to explain their position in relation to the competition. And if you're unable to make that distinction, then your brand strength needs to be worked on clearly. So the first decision that they made was to really make a list and identify the key risks and concerns that their customers have, and then work on policies and procedures that improve the transparency so they could say, here's distinctly why we do these things. So that was decision number one. And obviously it was targeted at the zeitgeist of anxiety that many of us have been living in. The second decision that they made from a brand position was to take this idea of the user experience, the customer experience, and to really unpack it. It's one of those phrases that gets bandied about so much, and it's usually just identified in a positional manner. This person or this function is responsible for teeing off the experience. But because there are so many touch points and because there's such fluidity right now, right? I mean, we are in a boundaryless market where there is no beginning or end to the cycle. The edges just are not there any longer. What they understood is that to strengthen their brand, they also had to embed certain user experience features in all of the touch points that were involved in the customer cycle, from the social to the web-based to the, pardon me. I'd lost you. Can you still see me?
Yeah, we still see you, man.
Oh, okay, weird. My computer just freaked out. So anyways, they took four things, right? How they educate customers, how they want customers to feel, an aspirational component to it, and then an entertainment piece. And they identified the touch points that they were working on. And then at that point, they put each of those four components into the touch points. So, as I said, instead of viewing the experience as a positional thing, they embedded it throughout all of the touch points. So there was a very cohesive story. And then lastly, they worked very deeply inside the community. They started looking for ways that they could reach out to people and do good philanthropic work, use that on their social signals, use that on their website. Those are, it's the right thing to do, right? I mean, business has some kind of ethical obligation. But also it was their way, because they're able to do this, to reach out into the community and to say, we're here for you, we're part of you, and, work in that regard toward a loyalty piece. So, when asked, how have you been working on your brand? Those were the three things. One, they're working on the brand in a way to mitigate risk and to improve transparency. Second, to expand or broaden the concept of a user experience so that it actually is visible, if not tangible in certain instances throughout their entire journey. And then finally, being a good steward of the community so people recognize them as responsible, moral, and ethical. And that's been the journey they've been on. It's been very successful for them.